It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Well, hello there, heidi ho there. Welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show. It's me, as always, or as usual, Douglas Coleman. Nice to have you with us. We've got Stephen Roberts here today. Stephen is an author with a best-selling book that is #1 in 5 categories, which is pretty impressive. His book is called Finding College Cash, and in this interview, he will give people who are looking to go to college but might not have the money some great tips on how to find money so that they can attend college and further their education. He's got some great advice for people, so stick around for that. Just wanted to give an update to people about our video show. Our video show is going very well. We've got 10 videos, I think, done. And there's no particular schedule for the video show. We haven't decided if we're going to create a schedule for uploading or not, because we're getting so many requests for people who want to be on the show. We're just trying to do them as fast as we can, and we upload them as soon as we get them edited. So I think we'll do that for a little while, and then, maybe we'll create a schedule where we'll upload them on Tuesdays and Thursdays or something. I'm not sure yet, but we'll figure it out. Anyways, it's all going good. Check it out on our YouTube channel. And with that, we will be right back with Stephen Roberts.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on the Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Hi there, this is Stuart Epps, record producer. This is my story about Elton John, working with him in those early years, going back to 1967 at Dick James, all the amazing tours, those first recordings, going through to Rocket Records, and it's an amazing story about his incredible rise to stardom and my part in that. So look forward to taking you on that journey. So here we go. Yeah, and to order this great audio CD, please just email me at stuartepps@talk21.com. That's Stuart, S-T-U-A-R-T, Epps, E-P-P-S, at talk, T-A-L-K, 21 in figures.com. Stuart Epps at talk21.com. Email me and I'll give you all the details for buying this brilliant audio disc. Thank you. Bye.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Tired of living in a culture of lies, fake news, and alternative facts? The Pro-Truth Pledge reverses the tide of lies by calling on politicians, and everyone else, to commit to truth-oriented behaviors. The pledge asks signees to commit to 12 behaviors that research in behavioral science shows lead to truthfulness, such as clarifying one's opinions and the facts, citing one's sources, and celebrating people who update their beliefs toward the truth. Private citizens who sign the pledge get the benefit of contributing to a more truth-oriented society. Public figures get more substantive rewards for signing the pledge in the form of positive media and public recognition. The pledge crowdsources the truth by asking volunteers to evaluate the statements of public figures who signed the pledge. Take the pledge, demand that your elected representatives do so, and encourage your friends to take it at protruthpledge.org.
Acclaimed author of Garden, Jane Yates brings you the first book in a new trilogy, Octopus Pirate, a story of a foundling who has unusual talents, such as the ability to communicate with octopuses. As a baby, he was washed up on an island off the Scottish mainland. An eccentric former nun who lives alone with cats brings him up. He joins a circus and narrowly escapes plots against him, flees to Cornwall, builds a replica pirate ship that's also an airship to travel back in time to fight real pirates. Get your copy today from Amazon, only 99 cents.
Are you an independent musician? How would you like to have your songs played on hundreds of radio stations just like the one you're listening to right now? Join MusicSubmit.com and we'll promote your music to radio stations and blogs in your genre. It's free to set up your account, and we guarantee your music will be considered for airplay by radio stations worldwide. Why not sign up today? It's free. MusicSubmit.com. Radio promotion for indie musicians.
The show's about to start!
I'm coming as fast as I can.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! Ooh, don't know my own strength.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Stephen Roberts. Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Doing very well. How about yourself, Doug? Pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Let's see. You've got a book out, and you've got some secret formula on how people can make a lot of money so that they can go to college. Is that about right?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it secret, but it is unknown, and very few people, unfortunately, take advantage of the resources that are available to pay for college.
Okay, well, tell you what, why don't you give us a little bit of your backstory, and then tell us a little bit about the book.
Okay, that would be great. Well, my backstory is, my introduction to college was along these lines, is when I arrived at college age, my sister was injured in a car accident, and my parents were paying for her medical bills, basically came to me and said, there's no money for school. If you want to go, good luck. And that was my introduction to college. I'd had a couple $100 saved to my name, and I realized that I was woefully underprepared for college. But I also realized I didn't want to go to college with debt. I'd just seen what debt had done to different members of my community, and I realized I didn't want to go to college with debt. And so I started looking around. I found a mentor, and he showed me a couple things of what to do. And then from there, I applied to hundreds of different resources. Many, I was surprised, worked, and some they didn't work. But through lots of trial and error, I ended up being awarded 35 scholarships and grants, including 3 prestigious scholarships. And I was actually got paid more money than what tuition and books and a lot of the college costs actually were. And so I kind of got out of college, and I was just like, phew, I made it. Well, I started speaking with coworkers, and they started telling me just how much they were spending in student loans, the equivalent of about a second mortgage every month. And I was just really surprised by that. I was like, well, why didn't you just do this, this, and this? And they said point blank, no one told me. And I was like, okay, I've got to change this. Since that time, I learned that according to U.S. News, that 70% of all undergraduate students end up getting a student loan, with the average being about $39,400 per student. And I was just like, whoa, that's like a whole year of salary, or net level salary for many people. How on earth can they even manage that? And then since that time, I've also met people who have had hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans. And so my goal and ambition is to help parents and students save tens of thousands of dollars on college costs by just taking some small steps that are very powerful that can help people. And I've been presenting and speaking on the subject ever since.
Okay, so you said the average price for a 4-year college in the United States is around $40,000?
No, what I said was the average student loan.
Oh, the
debt
loan is $40,000.
Yeah, was around $40,000. So a lot of times what will happen is people will go to those schools that are good schools, but perhaps a little overpricey for what they're seeking to do with their life. And that's one of the things that I try to teach people is actually research the school. And this is actually good news for just about any parent or student out there. Let me share with you some research done by the National Bureau of Economic Research. What they had this burning question was, do more expensive schools create a better job, a better, higher paying job? And what they found is that for the vast majority of students, the answer was no. What they did in the study was they took students who were accepted into more prestigious schools, but then chose not to go, and compared them with the people who actually did go to those schools. They found that 10 years into the job, their career, they really didn't see any difference in quality of job or in pay, except for those who went in business. So if you're going to go into be a Fortune 500 CEO, then you probably should go to a more prestigious business school. But for everybody else, every other major out there, schools don't matter in terms of quality of education or end of job results. And that's actually a good thing for many people to understand, is the employers don't necessarily care where you went to school. They just care that you can do the job.
Well, that's bad news for Harvard, I think. But
Well, no, actually, Harvard, in that sense, they actually make a statement on their website. They say that every student who attends Harvard can finish their debt-free if they apply themselves. So it's not so much of prestige as an expense that I'm trying to get at.
Well, what I'm just trying to figure out, okay, so what you said was that unless you get into business, that it doesn't necessarily, a Harvard degree doesn't necessarily get you a better job than a degree from a state university.
That is correct, and that applies for all the prestigious schools, not just Harvard.
Okay. Well, I'm just using Harvard as an example because I'm from Boston and was for many years, lived there, and I'm familiar with Harvard. So, okay. Well, so give us some of the tips then that you can tell people that they can go into this debt-free. So, okay, you said the average student loan is $40,000. How much money would they have put down, like a down payment?
You mean for going to school, or
yeah? Well, what's the average tuition cost in America? I have no idea.
The average tuition cost is about $10,000 a year
for a state school, right?
That's all schools that are accredited. That's the average that you'll find. Some of the state schools, like let's say a community college, will be cheaper than that, whereas some of the more elite schools could be more expensive than that.
Oh, I see.
But the average is about $10,000.
$10,000. Okay. So so give us a couple of tips on what people can do to prepare for this. Yeah.
Let me share with you what I refer to as the world's simplest formula for finishing school debt-free. This is actually something that a lot of fun. I'll first explain this, list the steps, and then I'll explain each of them.
Okay.
So the very first thing that you should do is actually know the starting salary for any position that you're considering, for any career or major that you're considering. What is the entry-level salary? And why this is important is because a lot of students will kind of go to school and they'll have either no idea clear-cut as to what they want to do, or they'll think that upon graduation that they'll get hundreds of thousands of dollars, which may or may not be the case depending upon their major. And so what I tell people to do is look at like the Department of Labor and Statistics and look and see what jobs and careers are in demand and what things that they're after. Because, for example, you don't have to necessarily be a sketch artist if you love art. You could be in advertising, you could be in finance, you could be in marketing, you could be even in computer science and still use that creative flair that the student may like. The next step that I would recommend to people is to be able to only attend schools that are fully affordable and accredited. Now, fully affordable, we discussed a moment ago, just looking at what is affordable for you and your circumstances. If you have the means, whether through scholarships or whether it's through other things, to go to an affordable, more expensive school, then go for that. But it also doesn't necessarily matter on the top level. However, let's look at the other way and go, does it matter types of accreditation on the lower end? And the answer is it depends on your industry and it depends on what they're requiring. So what I tell people to do is go contact 3 or 4 companies that you would be interested in working for. Contact the Human Resources Department and ask them specifically, what are your education and your hiring requirements? This is really important because you want to be able to first have your requirements meet their standards as opposed to hoping after the fact, after you've spent 4 years of time and effort trying to go into school. So that's something that is really, really helpful for people, is being able to understand what your industry requires. For example, graphic arts, they don't really care where you go to school. They just care about your portfolio. Whereas like nursing, that actually requires a lot where you went to school because they can only accept certain types of degrees. The same would go with engineering, where they're now defunct, so I can say them, like, for example, ITT Tech, who's now out of business, out of prior jobs, those type of people who went to those schools, they were actually very competent and very, dedicated to their job, but because they didn't have the right degrees, they couldn't advance within the company. The company just didn't accept the standard that was there. So make certain that for your industry, it's fully accredited. The next step that I would refer to people in this plan is apply for the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. This is a portal that the government uses to help people with both grants and loans. It's actually really important because a lot of times students will say, oh, my parents don't make too much money, I won't get anything anyway, or it's too hard, I won't even try. And that is something that's really saddening to me because in 2012 and 2018, they did studies and found that there were billions with a B, of dollars left over that could have been claimed by students if they had taken the time to apply for the FAFSA. Now, they'll ask you some questions about yourself and also your parents' background, but it's okay. You can share this information, and it's a secure portal. But what it will do is, most commonly, you can get a Pell Grant, apply for a Pell Grant, and get some money. And that is a great risk. And so even if you don't get any money, say you didn't get any grants, it's still beneficial to do, and here's why. It opens you up to about 30% more scholarships nationwide and also state and local resources that otherwise wouldn't be claimed because they require you to do this first anyway. So I'm just trying to help people have the most efficient steps to be able to get to where they need to go. And so applying for FAFSA is key. If you're a senior in high school, starting October 1st, you should be applying. And of the prior year. So in other words, if you're going to attend school in the 2020-2021 school year for high school and you're a senior, when you're planning on going to college, you should, on October 1st, apply for the FAFSA. It's that important. They have you do it about a year in advance to when you'll actually be attending. But it's based on a first-come, first-served basis. But even then, it also, if your worst comes to worst, it opens you up to having the potential of getting subsidized student loans, which can save you tens of thousands of dollars on college expenses.
The
next and final step go ahead.
I just was going to ask, what does that mean when you said subsidized student loan?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. Here's what it means. All right, let's take two different ways, subsidized and unsubsidized. Subsidized just means that while you're in school, the government pays the interest for you. So, for example, if you took out I'm going to use $100,000 for easy math so people can understand, is depending upon interest rates, it would save you approximately 24 to 35% of your total cost versus someone who just went and got a loan from the bank.
Okay.
So if you go to like a private lender, they'll still charge you interest while you're in school. And so your bill gets jacked up, or hiked up about 24 to 35% more if you would have just applied through the FAFSA. And that's huge for a lot of people because when you're looking at tens of thousands or 50,000 or 100,000 of dollars, that becomes quite a lot of money.
Sure it does.
Yeah. So subsidized just means the government pays the interest while you're in school.
Well, that's good to know because I've heard those terms, but I had no idea what it meant. So that's great. We're kind of running out of time. Let me just hit on a couple of points here. Let's talk a little bit about COVID, because that seems to be foremost in everyone's mind at this point. There's some debate whether certain schools are going to reopen or not reopen. I think at this point it's kind of a state-by-state issue that's sort of leaving it up to the governors of the state. What do you think about online schools if the universities choose not to open? I've noticed that the online schools are not necessarily much cheaper than a regular, attended college. What is your opinion on those?
Okay, you are right in the fact that a lot of the schools are cheaper because they've traditionally been in-class, in-person type settings, and then they've kind of been forced through the pandemic to make an online course. And a lot of times, some of the course material, because the teachers were used to doing it in person, they're not ready for online. It's not as easy for them. And so I have found that it's kind of hit or miss. Some of the schools, they do have cheaper options going online, and some of the schools, they charge roughly near the same price. But let me tell what your listeners could do that would be helpful for them in succeeding with a virtual college. First and foremost is set a tentative schedule for both classes and your homework. If you're having live in-person classes, you'd have a class schedule. Make yourself a class schedule that fits, say, your work schedule or your home life schedule. That's something that'll help a lot of students, just being able to understand I'm blocking out this time, so this way they're not rushed at the last minute. Next is online courses actually offer a lot of flexibility for you. You allow you to take advantage of waiting time. This is time where you're either waiting to get picked up for someone or waiting in line to go register for something, or perhaps even waiting at work. Assuming your manager allows you to do so, you could either read a chapter or take a quiz or watch a video, of course with headphones. But this allows you to maximize your time. And don't forget to reach out to the professor still or the teaching aides. They still want to help you, but you have to ask more readily. It's a little more difficult than, say, raising your hand in class, like sending an email or attending a group chat. But it does, even though it requires slightly more effort, it's worth it just to be able to get your questions answered. So please don't forget that they need to still be able to help you. And get your assignments done early. I found with the flexibility, I have taken online courses before in a college setting, and I actually love them. I could go a lot faster than what the course allowed, just because I could get things done faster. And so a lot of times there's not necessarily a deadline for you, and you can just go at your own pace and not have to wait on the course schedule, which is really nice. I will issue a caution as well, is that a lot of times schools, if you're going to take a test, follow the rules for the test. One of the schools that I attended had some virtual classes, and they would literally have you set up a webcam where someone would monitor you the entire time. So if your eyes looked off to the side or something like that, they could say that there was cause for cheating. So just be careful and follow the testing procedures exactly as prescribed by your college or university. But this will really help you, these tools. And as for the online resources, some of my favorite schools are actually online. Like, for example, Western Governors University. I did attend there, but I'm not affiliated with them in any way. And they offer some great material to be able to help people have an affordable option to attend school.
We got to kind of wrap this up. I know when you were talking about your points, and then you had a third point, and I kind of cut you off. Do you want to tell us the third point, and then we finish the interview?
Yeah, sure. This is the fourth point, and look around your community for resources to help you pay for school. Look at like your grocery stores or the banks that you may be in your community. Those types of places, they'll often have scholarships available for you. And as part of that, go speak with one of the financial aid counselors at either your high school or your college and just ask them what resources might be available to you. Just something that is very simple, but a lot of people don't take the time to do. So if they'll take this time, they can do. And this is one of the great things. And I don't know, if anybody's looking out there for some help, by all means, reach out to me. I am having a 30 days to 30K challenge where I give people help in being able to get resources to help them pay for school. I know of resources that both are competitive and are for those with better GPAs, and resources for those with people who don't have great GPAs and wondering, how am I even going to pay for college? I can help both worlds.
Okay, super. My guest is Stephen Roberts, and your book is called Finding College Cash. Give us your website so people can check you out if they want to communicate with you.
Okay, sure. It's going to sound real original, but it's findingcollegecash.com and /challenge.
Very good. Well, Stephen, thanks for coming on the show. This was very interesting. Best of luck with the book. How's it doing? How's your book doing?
It's doing really well, actually. It hit #1 in 5 different categories, #1 bestseller. So
wow, great.
That was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Best of luck.
Doug, appreciate it, and thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure to be here.